Welcome, everybody, to the PHDJ podcast. My name is Mike.
Yes, sir. It's Joseph.
What's going on? Joseph, so formal today. You told me the other day it was like, what, 85 in Raleigh?
Yeah.
Is it summer already down there?
It's gross, dude.
Yeah.
Saturday and Sunday, weddings coming up on deck, 95 degrees.
Wow. Yeah, that's hot. That's hot. That's hot. And speaking of hot, how was fishing?
Killed it. It was so good, man. Yeah, it was. Yeah, caught the elusive Silver King, a.k.a. the Tarpon.
You did?
Yeah. Two of them.
Congratulations, Joe. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That's awesome.
Sister got one to the boat. Brother-in-law got one to the boat. My dad's been hurt, so he couldn't fight one this year, but I'm sure he was down. It was good times. Good times down there.
Yeah, I saw some pictures. It looked like a cool thing.
It was.
And, I should also mention, I just flipped my calendar to June, even though it's not technically June yet, to look at stuff. I totally forgot Armed DJs is 3 weeks away.
I'm coming. So, I forgot to tell you, I'm coming.
Are you definitely coming?
Yes,
I was going to ask you. Very cool.
I bought a ticket 2 or 3 days ago, and
Bunn has to buy a ticket. You didn't know anybody that you could get a ticket from. Good for you. You know what? I say that jokingly, but
I did. I bought a ticket.
Support the cause and be an attendant. I think that's awesome, dude. Great. Yeah, and so that we can send that out to all the listeners now. Mm-hmm. If you want to catch up with both of your PHDJ buds, come to where's it? Gatlinburg,
Tennessee. Home of Dollywood, I think.
I'm psyched. I'm driving down. I'm basically on Father's Day. Big Daddy's meeting me, and then we're picking up our friend George Panzita, and then we're picking up Matt Johnson. So we'll be rolling into Tennessee sometime Sunday night and hanging out Monday, and then Tuesday and Wednesday education. So I'm psyched.
Is that right? Yeah, I can't. I think I might be coming in.
Monday is that open day that some guys play golf. We've gone hiking past, and
I think I'm coming in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I guess we'll try and record one out there, Mike. Maybe we'll do the live one.
We can if we can do that live one again.
Yeah, I think because I'm driving in because Toad is building me a DJ booth. I'm picking up out there. He's bringing it from Ohio to Tennessee
with one of those with the video screen. In the front? Those. It's cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So we are going to talk about the Call to Courage, which I asked Joe to watch, and he watched, and we have some stuff. But first, did you see this story just breaking on the internet this week about the police call to Waukesha wedding reception? Where is this? Minnesota? Wisconsin.
PA. Okay.
One of those. I knew it was one of those cold ass states. So you saw it.
I did. Yeah, a lot of people sent it to me.
Basically, what happened, I guess, was that the best man dropped the mic drop, which we all can't stand, and it happens from time to time. Yeah. But this DJ just lost his cool. He basically flicked a glass of water at I guess he was trying to aim for the best man because I don't know. I don't understand why he hit the bridesmaid with the water, and then some guy pushed him, and there's MFs being dropped all around. It's pretty. So you saw the video, right?
I did. It was kind of the one I got was kind of muted or pixelated, so I didn't really get a good scene of what exactly happened. I read the article. I don't know. A bunch of people sent it to me last night.
Yeah. So anyway, just a reminder, I guess, to any listener. Listen, it's not cool when somebody drops your microphone, but you can't fight back like that. I mean, dude, you got to be professional. You can't get that upset. I mean, it's funny. I broke in a new DJ this past weekend, and he was telling me, man, this job seems great, and I can't wait to get into this. And I said to him, I think your personality is perfect for it. And he's like, is there any downside? And I said, you know what? The two worst things in this business are giving up every weekend of your life, pretty much, and dealing with drunk people. And that really, to me, those are the two main. And I'd probably add really tough load-ins, every once in a while when you get a hard load-in and a bad setup. But other than that, I mean, it's a great job. But you have to have that thick skin for dealing with drunk people. And obviously this DJ just, I don't know whether he's new and doesn't understand that or whether he just lost his cool in the moment.
Yeah.
But not good. And I don't know how big of a market what is it? Waukesha, Wisconsin is, but man, he's not going to have a great reputation, that DJ, right?
That thing spread like wildfire.
Yeah, I did. And then, and I have to ask you about this. So I saw a link on Facebook, and so I clicked on it, and your ad for DJ's Vault appeared in the middle of the article. So how are you accomplishing that? Are you doing that yourself or somebody
does
you?
Yeah, no, somebody does that for me.
Because it was a DJ related article. Your ad. Now I've clicked on this article a few times, and you know how a lot of these news articles about 2 paragraphs down they have a spot for ads.
Yeah.
It's funny because now there's an ad for hairpin legs, which is something that Kelly and I were clicking on because Kelly's getting into. I don't want to get too far down a wormhole here, but Kelly's working on a project, and we were investigating these hairpin legs to put on the bottom of tables, and so that came up. So obviously, the same bot or whatever is triggering something that I've liked in the past or looked at in the past to appear in an article. Do you have any idea how that's happening?
I don't know that. I guess to answer the first question, I'm not sure if it appeared because you're a DJ. Or because it's a DJ-related article. I assume more so because you're a DJ and have probably clicked on some ad or something for the Vault in the past. And got it that it's going to remind me which I think is great. I mean, it's similar to Amazon. If you're interested in anything on Amazon, you don't necessarily have to add it to your shopping list because if you click on it once and look at it, Amazon's going to remind you on a regular basis, hey, you looked at this this book or this thing or whatever. And so you'll have an opportunity. And I think it's the same type of thing. If I were a DJ who was thinking about the Vault but hadn't signed up yet, oh, yeah, there's a reminder. So kudos to you, man. Whoever your marketing person is there. He's the man. He's the man.
All right. So I asked you to watch The Call to Courage by Brene Brown. It's basically, what would you call it? An extended TED Talk, a seminar on Netflix.
It looks like she's doing stand-up, but it's more like an extended TED Talk, right? Yeah,
and I said that 2 weeks ago when I asked you to look at it. It looks like, and Netflix right now is crushing it with stand-up comedy.
Killing it.
They've got pretty much everybody, any stand-up comic. So it does have that look and feel, and it's about the same length. It's a little over an hour. Yeah. And you texted me the other day and you said, what? I hate you for making me watch that. So I take it you didn't like it, which is good. Like I said, it's always better when you and I disagree. So you thought it was a waste of time.
No, I wouldn't say it was a complete waste of time. I wasn't in love with her, and I guess, the whole, I just don't know that I'm dialed in with that element of my psyche or personality.
We need too feminine, we'll even call it. I don't think
I wouldn't say feminine, but I would just say too sappy. Maybe.
If you look at the crowd, if you look at the cutaways to the crowd, it was definitely more women than men.
Sure.
And I think her message is probably more about empowering everybody, but it seems like it played more into the female. I mean, there's definitely, her audience is sort of the opposite of a DJ convention, I would call it, pretty much.
Yeah.
It seemed like most of the dudes there were probably, okay, honey, I'll go with you kind of thing.
I got it. Right. I got you an extra ticket. You're coming.
Kind of like what I was telling you about David Gray.
Right.
Kelly's got 2 tickets to see David Gray in 2 weeks. And I said to her, I'll go with you if you want, but please find somebody who might appreciate it more, because I'm not going to, I know the one dude's, what's his one song?
Babylon. This Year's Love. No, I always play that during dinner. People, every time I play that at dinner, people come up and ask who it was.
So let's break this down 2 ways. The Call to Courage. First of all, what did you think of her?
I guess I'm curious to see how this is going to tie into the podcast or to.
Well, first of all, she's a speaker. She's a public speaker.
True.
So let's forget about the message. Okay. Forget about the tip. Forget about the bullet points. What did you think of her as a presenter? You and I both present, and even if you're listening to this podcast and you're not a presenter and you don't have any goal of doing seminars, we all public speak. I mean, 100%. That's what we do for a living. What did you think of her style and her skills as a public speaker?
You know what? I mean, yeah. Okay, now I see where this is going. I thought she was really good. I thought she was genuine. I thought she was polished and knew exactly what she wanted to say without coming off as too polished. She's a good storyteller, which people have told me I am. And like myself, you know, she also was big on slides. And like you know, she in her hand the entire time, she held a controller, a remote to flick through her slides.
She definitely did, although she utilized far less slides than I usually do.
Many less than us.
For an hour, I think she maybe had a dozen slides.
Sounds about right.
So a lot, but and I go back to the main point. She didn't utilize the slides mostly for text. It was mostly pictures.
Correct.
She had that one swimming story that, you know, in my mind, that was the worst part of the thing. I
think that's where I got derailed there.
That story didn't resonate with me. It didn't touch me. And the picture the whole time was just a picture of the lake.
Yeah.
And so that was about 20 minutes, one slide. And again, that was to me, that was the weakest part of it. But I agree with you. Great storyteller.
Yeah.
It was a very effective technique that she came out right off the bat and told a joke. She said something about her handbag. And she started out with two things. I've got my handbag and an exit plan. It's a Texas thing.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, first minute, she's got the crowd laughing.
She did.
And then, you know, the thing that I always say about stories, it's one thing to be a good storyteller, but the stories have to be relevant to the content. And her stories were. I mean, she spent about 5 minutes talking about the cover of her book.
That's
and
right.
She showed some examples of what the publisher wanted to go with. And, you know, I'll be damned if I'm going to have my name under an elephant's butt. Elephant's ass was another funny story. But if you think about it, the underlying what she's working in there is that, hey, I've written a book. So if anybody in that audience isn't aware of the fact, but without saying, hey, please buy my book, she's worked in the fact that she's written a book by telling a very, very funny story about the cover of her book.
Whereas you and I will stop in the middle of the seminar and go, hey, sidebar, I've got some product for sale out in the hall.
Yeah, we often do, and again, that's another good lesson. If you can shoehorn your ad in without the hard introduction and all of that interruption, I meant to say. So if you can do that, then you're better off. But I thought she did a great job. So another one I wrote down was earrings with a question mark. I found her earrings to be very distracting.
Oh my God, dude! I was getting ready to say that right now. I hated them.
And you know what's
so
funny?
distracting.
I said that to Kelly, and she said she loved them. Did you watch it with Ainsley?
No, I didn't. I watched. I want to say this. I went into it already in a bad mood because the Game of Thrones finale was so shitty, and so.
I don't think I'm a big Game of Thrones guy.
Man.
So you're as disappointed as everybody.
It's bad, man. It really was bad. But anyway, so I was already in a bad mood. She went to bed.
And now Mike's making you watch this hour-long
documentary with this lady with these giant leaf earrings that were like dangling and kept hitting her shoulders. And yes, man, I'm not a fashion expert, but this is one thing I've always heard. If you're getting dressed to go out, right, and this can apply to men as well, and you get all your shit on, and, you know, like with me, I got 45 necklaces and blah, blah, blah. I might put on glasses or something. The last thing you do is take one thing off. So if you notice,
I've never heard that before.
She had a giant necklace on too, and so she either needed. I think the earrings were the thing she could have ditched for like a smaller hoop or like a diamond stud. Like I get that, you know, maybe she was trying to bring the femininity out in her look, and she's
listen to PHDJ podcast that we're giving jewelry.
I'm telling you, man, it's
covered all on this podcast.
I'm telling you, look at yourself. If you dress up for a wedding this Saturday, look at yourself, and sometimes you can, you know, sometimes you got to drop one thing.
Watching, there's a new movie on Netflix. I think it's called Wine Country. I could have the title wrong, and it's definitely a comedy. It's a movie with a bunch of the Saturday Night Live women in it, Amy Poehler and Tina Fey. But Brene Brown makes a rare. They're in a restaurant and they go, "Oh my God, isn't that Brene Brown?" And they all know her and they all go over to say hello. And guess what? She's wearing the same earrings.
Wow.
So maybe that's just her signature look.
Okay.
I don't know.
Could be trademark.
I wrote down self-deprecating humor. I think good kudos for her. I think, if you're going to have humor, I think self-deprecating humor is great because it disarms the audience. She talked about her weight a couple of times. She talked about the fact that she used to be a swimmer and I don't rock a Speedo anymore. So I thought that was fantastic. So anyway, as far as public speaker goes, I can watch something like that without even enjoying the content or agreeing with the content, just from the aspect of, okay, this woman is a successful public speaker. So what can I take away from that? And I think there's definitely, just similar to the way I can watch a Mark Farrell seminar at a DJ convention. He and I do not agree on everything. I mean, we agree on some things about the DJ industry, but there's a lot of things we disagree. But I can watch somebody like Mark and go, wow, he's polished. He knows how to command an audience. He knows how to make his points. So I respected that. So now let's get to the content, the whole point of, what she's talking about. Did nothing resonate with you?
Courage, vulnerability. I mean, yeah, but kind of lead me to it, man. I'm not the brightest star in the sky. I mean,
all right. So here's what I loved, the few things that she talked about, the few notes that I took. I loved her concept about getting into the arena. Not everybody's willing to be in the arena. Not everybody's willing to make decisions and actually, start something and because that takes courage.
Sure.
And her point is, you're going to fail. Now, I think she spends too much time on the inevitability of failure. But I think if you accept that, like, let's take your latest endeavor, for example, DJ's Vault. You showed some vulnerability by starting this. Now, so far, it seems like you're far from failing at this.
Right.
But anytime you begin a new endeavor, you're basically risking failure. I mean, and if you're not willing to admit that to yourself, you're lying to yourself, because not every new business venture, not every new thing takes off. So at some point you may have to say, and hopefully you don't, but you may have to say, yeah, this DJ Vault thing didn't take off. Same thing when you and I started the workshops. We rolled the dice. We said we're willing to take the risk, whether that's financial or time investment or reputation investment. And I do think there's something to be honored about the people who are willing to take the risk, no matter what the endeavor entails. And so that part of it really did resonate with me. I thought she spent a little bit too much time on, yes, you are going to fail. Listen, there are some people who I guess have never failed in their lives, but I do think it's part of taking a risk to admit that, yeah, this could end in failure.
Yeah. I mean,
I think. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say also, the very beginning of the thing, she said, I'm an introvert, which is weird to hear a public speaker say. I sometimes say that, and people are like, bro, you're the farthest thing from it. And I'm like, okay. But she said, I'm an introvert. And she said, but sometimes I'll open up to people on a flight. And the guy next to me the other day goes, what do you do? And she said, I study shame. That's what she says. If she doesn't want to talk to study, I study shame. And then people just shut down and put on their headphones.
Stop. Right.
And then she said, then she told this guy, I study courage and vulnerability. And it was a guy. And he goes, oh, completely opposite ends of the spectrum. And she was like, well, no, they're really the same thing. And so if I had any takeaway, I started thinking about that. Well, wait a minute. I really actually just thought about that courage. You have to be vulnerable to be courageous, I guess, is the takeaway really from the first whole half of that thing.
Yeah, well, I think
because I would have been like the guy.
The biggest takeaway.
Yeah.
Right. I think we think that courage is the exact opposite of vulnerability, but I think using the term vulnerability the way she is, that, yeah, when you start anything, and even just when I'm not even talking about just starting a new endeavor, but any decision you make, you're putting yourself out there, and there's a chance that decision could go wrong. And if you're not willing to to risk that. If you're not willing to be wrong, so many people would rather not make a decision.
Right.
And that was the other thing that really resonated with me when she said, if you're not in the arena, I'm not interested in your opinion. And that's one of the things that I'll often say to my staff. If somebody says, hey, we need to change fill in the blank, I go, great. What do you want to change it to? What do you want to replace it with? And if you're not willing to give me an answer, then I'm not really interested in your, because it's easy to say, oh, we shouldn't be doing this anymore. Okay, great. What should we be doing?
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to make that decision. I want you to make that decision. Okay, well, but then my decision is to keep doing what we're doing.
Right. So
I do think that there's something to that. There's plenty of people in life who would rather sit on the sidelines and comment. And I think especially nowadays with social media, it's given everybody an opportunity to do that. I mean, going back to our conversation, what was it, last week or 2 weeks ago about females, about Courtney making that comment. And listen, I'm not saying that Courtney just sits on the sidelines and comments, but it's easier for somebody who doesn't plan a workshop to comment on the speaker lineup. The one thing you have to give Robbie and Larry Williams credit for was they put this speaker lineup together. They were willing to take the risk. They were vulnerable, if you want to use Brene Brown's theory. Yeah. They were vulnerable enough to have the courage to say, here's our speaker lineup. Was it perfect? Well, no. If you look at it in a, hey, where are all the women, then it wasn't perfect. Yeah. But I don't think they ever claimed to say they put together the perfect lineup, but they were willing to do it. How many people, and again, this isn't a knock on Courtney, but how many people are never willing to make the decisions, but it's easy for them to sit on the sidelines and comment. And I liked her theory of, if you're not in the arena, I love that, then I'm not interested in your opinion. And she followed that up with, the other way of looking at it is people who say, I don't give a shit what anyone thinks. That's not the case. It shouldn't be the case. The case should be, I don't give a shit what everyone thinks. There are people you need to choose in your life and say, yeah, I respect their opinion. I want to hear from them. For me, Marcello is one of those people. Like, I could get 25 comments about something I've done and brush them off and say that person doesn't. But if Marcello tells me, hey, that wasn't cool, or you should have tried this, or then that means something to me because Marcello's proven to me to be a loyal friend and somebody who's an opinion I respect and a risk taker himself, somebody who's willing to put things out there. He's quote unquote in the arena, to use Brene Brown. So I'm going to respect his opinion way more than somebody who has maybe never even taken the risk.
Yeah. I mean, the part you made, and when she made that statement about, because I'll get on those kicks sometimes where I'll just do something stupid like dye my hair white, which thank God I finally got it all cut out yesterday. And be like 0 Fs, but it's not true. I mean, I don't care what everybody thinks, but I certainly care what most people think.
Well, and if you remember going back, what was that, about a month ago when I saw you, who did I say really matters in that situation? Ainsley's opinion. Oh, yeah. Like, to me, especially when you do something physical, like I could care what anybody else. I mean, I when I grow some scruff in, some people say, hey, it's cool, Mike. And I go, no, because Kelly hates it. So I usually don't hate scruff because that's really, as far as my physical appearance goes, the only one I care if anybody, what everybody thinks, but I really do care about
with this person. Right.
Exactly. And she's, wife, and you want her to find you attractive,
right?
Or for lots of reasons. So let's finish this part up with the and thus this podcast with the topic of cursing. She, again, for a female playing to a female audience, she surprised me the first time. She let out shit, and then she let out the F word. So
I might have missed that one.
Yeah, well, she said she basically said fuck Brene Brown at one point.
Yeah.
And she's quoting somebody else. So she said chicken shit, bullshit, and fuck Brene Brown. And I know John Young is stop at this point. Sorry, John.
These are quotes, John.
And listen, politicians nowadays curse. I don't ever remember a politician. I don't think Ronald Reagan ever cursed in public on the microphone, but you see it now with Trump. You see it now with some of the Democratic guys, especially shit. It's almost become. I think there's going to be a day and age where we see it on TV, just regular
CBS,
prime time. Maybe not the F word, but I think. Listen. tit is now acceptable. They can say the word tit and titty on primetime television. Ass is no longer. So are we just becoming more accepting as a society? And especially, you can answer this and not me because you have young kids. Is that a good or a bad thing? You tell me.
You know what, man? It's kind of one of those things where, especially at so they're 14 and 11 now. I did a really, really good job of not cursing around them when they were probably, I don't know, the first, let's say 6 to 8 years of their lives. I still do a really good job of tapering cursing around them. I mean, the only time they usually hear it is if I'm angry about something or something breaks in the house or so on and so forth. But and again, I don't edit their music. They both have Spotify accounts. They're both heavy new rap fans, which is, the worst of the worst language and content. But I almost feel like because they were exposed to it, they don't walk around using it. I've never gotten a report from a parent. They've never been sent to the principal's office at school. I've never walked by their room and heard them playing Fortnite on their headsets, going, F you, man, I'll kill you, whatever. So I think that even when they rap along with the songs, they'll go, I saw this mother. She was walking on the street, and they're editing themselves. So I think the exposure to the language from really early age made them realize that one, I guess that their dad uses it, but I shouldn't. And I said that if I said those words, I'd be like, don't say that word. You know what I mean? I'm mad. I'm mad about this. That's the only reason that came out. And two, because I didn't edit their music and make it like this ultimate sin that they don't want it so bad. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like the preacher's kid that didn't get alcohol until they were 21, and then from 21 to 28, they became an alcoholic and a cokehead. Like,
it's funny what you're saying is reminding me of that. My parents had a very open philosophy with wine. Sunday night dinner at my house growing up was, my mom made a nice meal. My dad always opened up a nice bottle of wine. And as far back as I can remember, we got a little sip of the wine. I'm not saying we got a glass of wine and we got drunk, but we got a little sip of wine. And so because of that, I don't ever remember like my first drink and going on a binge, because it wasn't this forbidden adult only. Like, it was no big deal. I remember my dad giving me a sip of his beer once and I hated it. And I was like, oh, this is gross, probably because he was drinking cheap shit beer, but you know what I mean? Like, so it took me years and years later before I even wanted my first beer. So I think that's probably a good parenting lesson. So bringing it back to gigs, do you think there will be a time at your typical wedding where you don't have to play a radio edit of a song?
Man. I mean, I'm not going to say it's not in our lifetime, but I'm just still, I just think with the generations being what they are and a lot of, I'm just trying to think of when an older person at a wedding would have been born. And, like, I'm always just really cognizant of that. Even when I open the dance floor, I'm like, man, I don't want to come out with, Get Low, Lil Jon, even though somebody has asked that. And even in the, the advance call or the consultation, I'm like, can we come in a little, cooler than this? Like,
can I build up to that?
Isn't your grandmother going to be there? Like, I don't want her.
And let's face it, opening song, the sweat's probably not dropping down your balls.
No,
yet. So, I mean, you got to work up the sweat first
before it's dropping. Exactly. It's premature. It's a premature drop. So anyway, I just, yes, I think there could be a time. I think it would still, I would still steer clear of an F-bomb and this, that, and the other. But for me, man, it's just, now that I'm not playing in bars and clubs, I'm fine with radio edits.
Do you ever curse on the microphone at an event? Ever?
Man, I'm sure I've let
about private event, weddings.
I'm sure.
Whatever.
Yes, I have definitely let a shit drop or a hell or something like that. I've never dropped an F-bomb or
that's totally shit or hell is two totally different things. Hell's not even.
I've never dropped a GD or an F-bomb on the mic.
Context, you might have said shit.
Yeah, I think I've said it at a wedding one time, and it kind of slipped out. Like, I think the couple or somebody got me, and I was like, shit, that just got me, and I don't even know these people or something. Like I was like legit almost crying, and then everybody just laughed, and I was like, oh man, that was. And I've definitely.
I don't think I said it at a wedding.
I'm pretty sure
I love it when the best man or the maid of honor curses during their toasts. Because usually when I get the microphone back, I'll say, "Oh, I'm so glad Joe cursed."
Right.
Now, if I accidentally let one slip, I won't feel bad. But I don't. I still don't.
Yeah, don't. Right.
Yeah. So anyway,
I mean, I've definitely cracked the mic and said dumb stuff. Not so much about cursing. I did this thing years ago. I think I've told this story before, but I played Africa way before Africa was popular because somebody requested it last second, and I was just kind of blown away with the reaction. And then the song's tapering out, and somebody ran up and said, "Hey, we're doing the exit. It's Bubbles." And I go, "All right, everybody, thanks for coming. We're gonna head outside. We got a big bubble departure. Everybody head out there." And then I just pause and I go, "Blow them." Like, and like the photographer and like the planner, everyone was like, "What?" And I was like, "I don't know why I just said blow them." It was like this long pause, like I was done, and then I just go, "Blow them." And everybody,
I heard a funny story. We'll end on this one. I heard a funny story like that once. And I don't want to say who told me this, but He said he was doing a wedding and the bouquet toss came up and the bride throws it kind of like off to the side. And one of the bridesmaids like dove to catch it. And in doing so, her dress came up over her head. Oh, shit. And she catches the bouquet and he goes, "Nice snatch."
Oh, my.
And he claims that, I don't know the true story, but it's a funny story.
That's amazing.
So let's put this one.
All right.
If you enjoyed it, if you didn't see Brene Brown's Call to Courage, go back and watch it, and then you'll understand what Joe and I have been talking about. Anything else, Joe?
No, man. Wrap it up.
Wrap it up. Have a great week, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Ciao.